Hello, it's hard to see me, but we are going on a backpacking trip, maybe a little scouting and shedding, but mainly we're going backpacking. We're going down the P-Bar Lake Trail, down to Grant Creek Cabin site. I'm gonna spend the night and maybe do a little shed hunting on Moonshine Park and Paradise Park. Usually it's me alone in the forest, but I got Dayson with me this time, my son, so we're gonna have some fun and backpack down this trail. There's Dayson getting ready to put his bag on. We're going to head on up to P-Bar Lake and down to Grant Creek Cabin. Nice, beautiful area. The creek's dry though, because we're really dry. Here's our little maps. There's Lupin. He's coming with us. We've been going for a little bit. We just hit the break in the trail. So this is a fork. If you go that way, you'll head towards Hennigan's Meadow. If you go, the sign's missing, but the post is still there. If you go left, you're going to head towards P-Bar Lake. We'll stop and take a little break, and then down to Grant Creek. Alright, we just made it to P-Bar Lake. It's this little lake. This is the most water I've ever seen in it. Usually when we come through here, it is July or July. And usually it's dry or it's just a little mud hole depending on the monsoons. But even as dry as we are, there's quite a bit of water in it. Lupin's taking a little swim. He was hot. We're going to take a little break here just because it's tradition. I've hiked from Acre Lake to Grant Creek Cabin site where we're going. We usually stop here for lunch. Of course, we've only been hiking for like 30 minutes because we took a different trail. But we're still going to take a little break. Lupin's going for a deeper swim. There's the lake and there's a little meadow here and it's a real pretty little area. And we're gonna go down the trail and head down into this big canyon. Alright, we just went down the trailways, went through a real nice pretty park with flowers and aspens, and we're headed down lower. We're in the wilderness now, the blue wilderness. Have been for a little while. This is part that was hit by the Bear Wallow fire. But you can see big old canyon. That's a little side canyon, and we are heading down into that. This is a little spring that's right along the trail. I've stopped here lots of times on the 30-mile hike I've been on a couple times through here to get water. Today we don't really need it because we started a lot different spot than I have in the past. We'll just get water down at Grant Creek. But it's a little spring, only a little bit of water in it. Alright, so we just made it to another fork in the trail. That takes you down to Grant Creek Cabin site where we're going to camp, creek and everything down there. This will take you to White Oak Springs and across Paradise Park and all the way down to the Blue River, which I've done a few times. But we're going to head this way and go to Grant Creek Cabin. And on the Alright, we made it to the bottom Grant Creek Cabin site where we're camping. There's Lupin. I set up a hammock right there. We brought a tent and pads, but we're going to try hammocks, see how it goes. There's Dayson's hammock. And here is the old Grant Creek Cabin site. And it's probably the best spot to camp down here. Both times I've been down here, the foresters took over this and I had to go camp over in the thorns by the creek. And here is Grant Creek itself, just right by our camp. Flowing on down. So we got water, nice little camping area, set up camp, and now we're going to go hike around and see what we can find. Here we are on Moonshine Park. Just got to kind of the open, pretty area. That's what a park is. It's a big giant bench kind of with the nice open areas. The trail runs right through here somewhere, so I'm guessing right here we're not going to find anything. But if we go a little bit farther and off the trail, we might find a few things. Who knows? There it is. It's bigger than I thought, but it is a whitetail shed. We just jumped a bunch of whitetail deer. There's still one down there. Barely see it. Oh, right there. So they all ran but one. There it goes. Its tail up, walking through the trees. Whoop. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on the camera very well or not, but there's about 6 of them. Only got a picture of one because they saw us first. That's a lot of whitetail deer. At least 6, maybe even more. I thought that was pretty cool. A bunch of water coming out of this little cave back in there. Here in Grant Creek. We should have stayed on the trail. We're trying to walk up the creek and hit some mess. Learned my lesson. I already knew that too. Always go back to the trail. It's been really rough because we didn't stay on the trail. I already said that, but it's so bad. There's some cliffs. We're climbing up everything. So steep and rough. But we'll make it back hopefully. Alright, we better get going. We had to lift Lupin up and carry him through part of it because he couldn't make it. Oh, I just walked up a little bit farther and saw a little waterfall. So that's pretty cool. Baby rattlesnake right there. I walked right by it and it was rattling. And Dayson warned me and he said, don't, baby rattlesnake, snake. So I quit moving. And it just slid on past me. It scared me though. There he is, little baby rattlesnake. Alright, let's leave him alone. We finally found the trail again. On the way up to Moonshine Park, I kept marking the trail because I wanted to go back to the trail. It's always easier to go back to the trail. But then we started going downhill and we got lazy and didn't want to go back up to the trail, and we just went straight down to the river and said we'd walk the river up. But it's never easier. Always go back to the trail. And then you almost get killed by rattlesnakes too. Alright, back on the trail. We should be back at camp pretty soon. It's almost 5 o'clock though. Alright, we made it back to camp. We just rest, sleep. All we found was that one whitetail shed. But this is more of a backpacking trip than a shed hunting trip. So we're still having fun. Down here at Grant Creek Cabin, we're going to cook some food, eat, go to bed. We are wore out. Alright, I'm down here at the creek. We've been drinking lots of water. It's been hot. So I got to fill up all these water bottles. There's one. And here's a water pump I like. MSR water filter. If it starts slowing down, you could clean it right here at the river and put it back together. It pumps water a lot faster. I've seen lots of people bring life straws or other water filters, and you have to work really hard for a little bit of water. Alright, we're leaving our little camping spot in the next morning. It's a little chilly. Dayson was freezing all morning. And Dayson wore shoes that were too tight and his feet hurt, even though I told him not to wear those shoes. Lupin, right when we got back to camp last night, Dayson found an antler right by his little hammock. An old busted up one. So we actually have 2 antlers. But Lupin stole it and buried it somewhere, so I don't know where it went. But it was an old beat up pink chalk, so who cares. There's Dayson's hurt feet. We're getting ready to pack up. So instead of looking at a lot of Paradise Park, we might just look at a little bit because Dayson's feet hurt. I may come back a different time and camp at White Oak Springs and look at the upper part of Paradise Park. These are wild raspberries. They're growing everywhere in here. When you come down here in July, you can eat them all along the trail, and they're all over down here. but there's also some rose hips nearby that look a lot like wild strawberries. Rose hips, you could actually take a bud of a rose hips and boil water, and it's supposed to help your stomach. These are the raspberries, wild raspberries. And right next to it, they always grow nearby, is a rose hip. See a little bud right there. Here's a little deer, hard white. I left Dayson and Lupin in the bag, so I'm just doing a little hike off the trail. Not too big, just a little chewed on hard white deer. There's the other half. It's a hard white deer from last year. It's got some mass to it. It's not real big, but it's heavy. Whitetail deer. All right, there's another one. Little tiny whitetail. I don't know, there's so much whitetail in here. When I've been down here, I've seen elk and mule deer, but I guess I saw whitetail yesterday. It's a little tiny guy. Little tiny guy. So I showed you some raspberry bushes and some rose hips bushes. This is grapevine. It grows a lot by the creeks. And if you're ever hiking in later summer, there's always raspberries, a few little grapes to eat, and also little tiny strawberries. I'll see if I can find some for you. They're so small, but they're full of flavor. They're good. To get water really before the truck, unless we want to get water from P-Bar Lake, and we don't want to do that because it's a gross lake. So we're stopping to fill up with water, and then we're going to work our way all the way up the canyon. It's going to be a long, hard hike. Here's some wild strawberries along the trail. Look just like regular strawberries with little white flowers. Like I said, they're tiny, but they're good if you find them along the trails. We finally made it back up to the top. I was going pretty slow and Dayson was complaining. But Friday, Saturday, we were fishing at the Black River. I only had Sunday to recover. And yesterday we did about 25,000 steps. I'm not sure how many miles. I thought this is a real pretty part of the trail with some aspens and wildflowers blooming right here at the top. So I wore myself out pretty well and had to go real slow uphill. Here's right in this little pass, and this trail right here goes right down into the canyon. That's a real nice part of the trail. You're out of the burn here. Real pretty. All right, we're almost back to P-Bar Lake. We'll make it. Here's a big patch of yellow wildflowers. We've almost made it back to P-Bar Lake. Here's the little meadow where P-Bar Lake is. So we did it, back up out of the canyon. We're real close to the truck now. One of my plans was to stop here and maybe go shed hunt, but I'm too tired. I'm gonna have to come back a different day and do White Oak Springs. But it's been a fun backpacking trip. We did find 5 sheds, all whitetail sheds. But more of a backpacking trip and camping trip, and it was a lot of fun. These are Rocky Mountain iris. They're an iris. I just found that out because we had a new calf born, and we name our registered girl cows after flowers. My wife picks them. And I named the bulls after gun manufacturers like Savage, Ruger, Henry, Winchester. But these are one of my favorite flowers, so I suggested this flower, and I had to look it up and find out what it is. And it's an iris. So they're always up in the meadows high up. There's Lupin. Lupin, say hi. He said hi. All right, so we just made it back to the truck. It was a fun backpacking trip. We ended up finding 5 whitetail antlers, but we left one down there because Lupin hit it. It was a pink chalk. Nothing great, but it was still a lot of fun. If you want to go on an overnighter down to a cool area, this is a cool place to go. I wouldn't recommend it for young kids or if you're out of shape. The way out is a lot of uphill, so you got to be in shape. But it's not a hard hike by any means. I know, so you go off the trail like we did and bushwhack it through Grant Creek. That was hard. All right, we had a lot of fun.